booktube. So I've never done a monthly favorites, but I have one favorite, and here she is. This is Fable. I recently adopted her from a humane society. She's a year old, and she's a Korean Jindo, according to the shelter. But again, they never know. She was a stray found wandering around. But looking at the pictures and like the breed description, she does like look like that. She's in the Shiba Inu Akita family. She is just full of energy, and I named her Fable because she reminded me of a coyote. Like when she runs around, she's really long and slinky, and she looks like a fox when she lays down because she has like black chin with like the red and white floofiness. And so yeah, I thought Fable would be really like bookish, and I really like the unique name. And so yeah, she's been keeping me pretty distracted from reading, to be honest. And yeah, after losing my dog Tucker in January, I like got over like the grieving process, and then it was just missing having a dog in my life, having that constant companionship, walking buddy, and so on. And so yeah, I thought it was time to get one. And she she is just full of antics. And so I thought I would start the books, my favorites for February, with a dog related one. And this is My Dog Skip by Willie Morris. And this is a memoir about his time as a child growing up in Mississippi. And when I looked into this book, I guess it is it's adapted into a movie, but I've never seen it. It's about a fox terrier who, again, is like, the little boy's constant companion. He plays but not just fetch, but he plays football with him, and he just wanders around town, and he's very picky on the food he eats. He doesn't eat dog food. He eats like bologna, I remember, was like one of his favorites. And so yeah, and then as the boy grows up, he starts thinking about going away to college and leaving the dog behind. And so yeah, it's just a really quick, I think it's like almost under 100 pages. And so it goes by really quick, like I was saying. And I really like this book, and I think he's written several other books that I will have to get my hands on and see. North Toward Home, and 2 other novels. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, now I need to check out the movie. I haven't yet, but yeah, this was just really cute. And then the other physical book is A Little House Sampler, a collection of early stories and reminiscences by Laura Ingalls Wilder and Rose Wilder Lane, and this is edited by William Anderson. And I read a couple other Laura Ingalls Wilder related books for the Little House on, what was it? Little Prairie Read-Along? Is that I can't remember the little symbol for it. the logo. But yeah, for the readathon, Little House on the Prairie readathon. And I picked this one over the other ones that I read because it was like a amalgamation of the different people. So it has writings from Rose and Laura, like Laura's like newspaper clippings that she wrote for like a farmer magazine, and then Rose, she wrote for like bigger magazines, because during most of their life, Rose was the more successful writer than Laura. And so she was like a more well-known artist, so she wrote for like the bigger newspapers. And so it has like little snippets of them. Plus, it has like interviews with Almanzo. And so yeah, I really liked like visiting with each of them. And yeah, so this was really a really nice sampler, as it says. And when I was reading Prairie Fires in January, this was quoted several times during the throughout the biography. And so like I had my eye on it was on my mind. So when I went book shopping, I found this, and I was like, okay, yeah, I for sure need to read this for the readathon. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then on to the ebooks. I finally finished Red Comet: The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. And I started this, I think, back in November. Then I put a hold on it in December to read like Christmas-related books, and then I started again in January. And I was like, I finally finished it in February. So it's been a long like progression here. And before reading this book, I didn't know a lot about Sylvia Plath. I've never read a collection of her poetry. I've just read snippets for like school and college, and same with her husband. Yeah, I haven't read, I don't think, anything by him either. So Ted Hughes was her husband. And so, yeah, I didn't know much about anything except what all of us know about her committing suicide, like putting her head in like the gas oven when she was in her 30s. And so yeah, that's all I knew. She died young and she was a famous poet. But this is a very thoroughly researched and thoroughly written biography, because it breaks it down into each year and you go each month, and so you really follow her short life in this big book through almost I feel like every moment it feels like. But that being said, it never felt slow or a slog or anything like that. I would say though, like I stopped in November for a break for Christmas reading, and it was depressing me because Sylvia Plath, like along with her committing suicide at such a young age, she battled depression all of her life, and so she attempted suicide several times before being successful with it, if you will. And so she had like kind of contentious relationship with her mother. Her mother was like kind of like overbearing, and Sylvia Plath herself was like constantly striving for perfection and really pushing herself. So she was submitting works, poetry, and short stories to big magazines and newspapers from a very young age, and winning these competitions and getting her things published from a very young age. And so she was constantly being very driven. And then she went to a big college, and at the time, everyone, all the women were just expected to get married, and that was it. But she really was pulling against that that expectation and wanting to go her own way. And I'm sorry for the sun. Like I had to like angle this so I could get her in the picture, but my goodness, let's see if I can like maybe turn. Oh no, I don't know. I need to get away from the sun here. Let's see. So at least you can see my face when it's not like so washed out. But yeah. So and then when she started dating again with those like typical like 1950s conventions, she didn't want to follow those. She wanted to meet and experience different men, and that was very much frowned upon. And so when she met Ted Hughes, and he was like, I don't know, that's black sheep, but not the safe choice is what I would say, because she also before that she was dating like doctors and people that would set her up for life, so she could write and be creative and have that foundation. But she did not want that, and so she picked the more risky choice. And so both of them are making a living off of poetry, which was just amazing. And they really did scrounge to scrimp their penny, keep their pennies close in order to make a life, and before they became successful. And she really played a huge part in Ted Hughes's life. And I've never, like I said, I don't know almost anything about Ted Hughes, and she played a huge part in making him, the name that he is known today. I don't know, like without her, like would he be as famous? Would he be as well known or like successful? I don't know, but yeah, they really did. She really did work well with him, and yeah, and then it with her, I don't want to give away the ending. I don't know. But it explains a good deal. It goes in depth on what happened that last week of her life, and the different things that went into her being in that really depressed mindset. And it wasn't just one thing. And I really like that. That it explains it in depth. And the book constantly makes a point that her life was not just her death. It wasn't this horrible. It was a sad story, yes, but she had a lot of successes, and her life just, wasn't just her death. She did have a lot of, I don't know. Again, you wish, like with a famous poet or any writer, that that she was just really, climbing the ladder in a sense of like really finding her own words and her own style, her own voice. And so I just, you always wonder, what would her next collection be like? How much higher could she have gone with her unique style? But yeah, anyway, I really, really enjoyed this. And if any of you are like scared away from the Mammoth-sized book, I wouldn't. You can take it in bits and pieces, and yeah. And I really need to read her poetry and Ted Hughes' poetry, which is on my list, because one of my goals throughout this whole year is to read more poetry and science fiction, which are the two categories I really not shy away from, but tend not to gravitate towards or pick up. And so these two writers are for sure on my list to read this year. And then speaking of poetry, my last favorite is Mary Oliver's Winter Hours. This is prose, poems, and like an essay collection. And I've read a couple of Mary Oliver's work by now. I read Upstream and something with dogs. And I can't remember the title. I mean, something with dog in the title, Winter Hours. And then after reading this, I wanted to read another one of her works, Felicity. And so this is about her like musings on nature, like with essays. She talks about different poets and writing and how she formulates a poem. And I really wish I had like either like copied and saved some of the poems so I could read them to you. But I did look through Goodreads, and there's some people who were like pulling snippets and quotes out. And so I thought I would read one to you that I really liked. And this says, every word is a messenger. Some have wings. Some are filled with fire. Some are filled with death. And so that's a little snippet there of her, a quote from her writing. But yeah, I only have 4 bookish favorites, but yeah, for sure I got the doggy favorite. Sorry, she making a bunch of noise. I had to give her like a bone or something so she could sit still, because like I said, she's a year old and she has a ton of puppy energy. She's like zooming around all over the place. So sorry for the noise, but I'm sure none of you mind that. Because who doesn't like a little puppy to look at? She's not so little though. She's like 75 pounds, and we'll see how. I know they stopped growing around like 2, so we'll see how big she gets. But I'll keep you along for the ride. But thanks. I'll see you soon, book 2.